I can. Lofi Poli Sci Season 5 coming at you. Oh yeah, Michael Pickering here doing our thing, talking about what's going on in the world today. And we got a full lineup for you people. We got that Lo-Fi Global News. We got that Metro New Orleans weather. We got the weekend box office report. And connecting some dots. We got music. We got talking music. So just sit back, relax, and breathe. Let's go. Fresh off that press at Lo-Fi Global News for you. First up, let's travel to India. And for those not very familiar with Indian politics, the majority party, which is the party in power and controls the prime ministership, is what's known as a Hindu nationalist party. And while India is a majority Hindu population, there is a very large Muslim minority population in the country. And just how large, you may be asking? Well, remember, India is the second most populous country in the world, with about 1.3 to 1.4 billion people in the country. And the Muslim minority in the country? Well, we're talking about somewhere near 200 million people, which is a population larger than most countries on the planet. So yeah, we're talking a lot of people here. But as far as political representation goes and having a voice in politics, the Muslim population doesn't have that many votes to gain much power. But you may be thinking, wait. Isn't India a democracy? Like the largest democracy in the world by population, ? And you would be most certainly correct to think that. However, things have been changing fast these past few years, and democracy is surely in decline in India, as the Hindu Nationalist Party known as the BJP, with Prime Minister Modi at its head. Well, let's just jump into this latest story. So the Supreme Court in India has begun what seems to be an official investigation into a conference that took place last month that led to the arrest of 2 people for hate speech who called for violence against Muslims in their local states. And that state has elections next month. You know, local groups stirring up local emotions and stirring in hate and violence into politics and into political rhetoric right before an election? Seems to be a lot of that going on around the planet these days. The good thing in this story, though, is the people who were directly calling for violence were arrested and are facing charges. The bad thing is that there was at least one politician who's part of the ruling BJP party that was in attendance at the conference. Now, quite a few of the members of the BJP, they came out and they said, no, this isn't us. We don't represent this. This does not represent the views of the majority population of the Hindus of the country of India. Cool, good. Although Prime Minister Modi, at least from my reading of the news so far, has been pretty quiet about all of this. And that, well, you may call it concerning, or you may call it telling, but whatever the Prime Minister is thinking, he's keeping to himself. You know, the Supreme Court is currently weighing the decision whether or not to ban additional and similar conferences that are scheduled to take place right before these local elections. And I'm really curious to see if this happens. I'll definitely be looking for updates. Now let's head on over to the World Health Organization. That's right, the WHO. You know it as that organization that everybody loves and agrees that it's just so wonderful thing in the world. Or everyone simply hates it. You tell me. Million ways in between. Who knows? Regardless, the WHO does a lot of work in developing countries across the planet. But it takes a lot of money to do that work. And a special committee was formed to see about reorganizing the way the WHO is funded so it could be more efficient at handling world health. And a proposal was put forth to increase members' mandatory payments over time, and that at the moment, member states' payments actually only account for less than 20% of the organization's actual annual budget. So, where's the rest of the money, the majority of the money that makes up the organization's budget come from to deal with global health issues? ? Donors, volunteers, people voluntarily donating to the WHO makes up the majority of its working budget to deal with global health. Now, how can you have a World Health Organization based on donations actually be efficient? In that system, I do not know. Hence, it shouldn't be surprising that the WHO needs more money and a more reliable budget. But the US says, nope, we are not agreeing to up the mandatory dues that members have to pay, really giving the sign that the US doesn't trust the World Health Organization. And look, you can say what you want as far as why this is actually all taking place, but I'll simply point down the road to November and midterm elections in the US, and just how controversial the WHO is in US politics. I'd be interested to see how this would all play out if it weren't an election year. But hey, here we are in another election year, moving towards an election that Lofi Poli Sci will most certainly not be talking about. That's right. All right. Let's switch gears a bit with this next one and check out what's going down in Turkey, which is ruled by the resident president dictator Erdogan. A famous Turkish journalist was just recently arrested and faces a possible maximum sentence of 4 years in prison if convicted for, wait for it, insulting the president. Yep, you can go to prison for up to 4 years in Turkey for insulting President Erdogan. And before you ask, let me answer. Since 2014, almost 13,000 people have been convicted of insulting the president. And for all of you that may be familiar with past discussions of Turkey trying to become a European Union member, that will never happen as long as laws like this exist in the country. And we'll be watching for sure to see what happens with this case moving forward. All right, next up, to Venezuela we go. Venezuela is ruled by resident president dictator Maduro, who has now reached just over 3 years into his 60-year term and can now officially and constitutionally be kicked out of office by the people through a national referendum initiative. Let me break it down for you. If enough people sign a petition to have this vote, then a national vote will take place, and if it passes, President Maduro will be kicked out of office and new presidential elections will take place. And yes, different countries have different rules on how you can get rid of your political officials, your politicians, and this one is called a recall vote. And the opposition parties have started this process of collecting signatures, and a big but, the Election Commission, with the majority of President Maduro allies being on that commission, of course, they say you need 4.2 million signatures for the referendum to take place, and that those signatures can only be collected in a 12-hour period, only at 1,200 different locations, and only on January 26. 12 hours to get 4.2 million signatures in just one day? Come on, Electoral Commission. Why not try to hide this a little bit better? You know, there's no way the opposition can meet this requirement, and everyone knows you're doing this on purpose just to keep President Maduro in power and to keep your pockets lined. But the opposition, well, they ain't giving up. Oh, no. They're going to the courts and try to get this rule removed for a more fair process. Keep an eye on this, people. It's happening this week. I'll be interested to see how the courts rule and if this referendum will actually be allowed to take place. And a last bit of that lo-fi global for you, for the moment at least. Let's go to the West African country of Burkina Faso, where, as of the time of this recording, major events be going down. They are taking place right now. So eyes open out there, lo-fi listeners. We just may be talking a whole lot more about Burkina Faso real soon. So get your read on, people. Yes, indeed. But now, let's switch gears a bit and get you that 5-day Metro New Orleans weather and the weekend box office report. Everyone always wants to know, is it cloudy with a chance of meatballs today? We got you covered, Nola. On Monday and Tuesday, most certainly cloudy with a chance of meatballs on both days. Make sure to bring your meatball repellent umbrellas with you before you head out. And temps going to be in the high 50s to low 40s both days, so chilly. And on Wednesday, partly sunny, but getting colder from the low 50s to the high 30s. Damn, New Orleans, we supposed to be hot. We ain't supposed to have no winter. What's this going on? I don't know. Thursday and Friday, Mostly sunny, with some cloud cover, little chance of rain, and temps in the 50s to the low 40s, and the mid-30s on Friday. And that's your 5-day weather, NOLA, but always remember, it is New Orleans. It could rain any day and every day, so don't forget to look outside before you walk outside. That's what I always like to say. Now, how about that weekend box office report, eh? Oh, cut the bullshit theater music. You know they always play that shit way too loud when a movie's starting up just to catch your attention and to make everyone quiet. But me, it just pisses me off, and every time I think to myself, well, forget about it. Let's see, what did people check out at cinemas today, or rather this weekend? Coming in at number 5 is The King's Man with $1.7 million at the box office this weekend. Number 4 is Redeeming Love with $3.7 million. Number 3, Sing 2 at $5.7 million at the ticket office. Number 2 is Scream. Whatever number Scream this is, I think it's number 5, but with $12.4 million at the box office. And number 1, still number 1, Spider-Man No Way Home, taking in another $14.1 million at the domestic box office, bringing its worldwide total to $1.69 billion. $1.69 billion over the past month. Let me put that into perspective for you, Lo-Fi listeners. South Korea had the 10th highest GDP in the world in 2020, at $1.63 billion, reported by the World Bank. The movie Spider-Man No Way Home made more money in one calendar month than South Korea made for the entire calendar year of 2020. And what's more, there's about 200 countries in the world. Spider-Man No Way Home made more money than almost all of them in just 1 month. Damn. That's all I'm saying. And did you check out a movie this weekend? What did you go see? How was it? Record a quick review. Send it on in. We'll play it on air for you. And what flavor icy out there? Cherry, blueberry, Coke. Trick question. Coke Ices are gross. Just saying what everyone is thinking. Don't drink Coke Ices. Unless you like them, then drink Coke Ices. But still, a lot of sugar in an icy. Watch yourself. All right, enough. Cue the music. It's time for that deep dive and connecting the dots. All right. Let's get ready here. Connecting the dots. We go into one global news story. Dig into the heart of it. And see what it's really all about. And why it matters. And today, we're talking about Russia and the West, and the country of Ukraine, and what it all means. But let's start off with a brief background to set up our conversation to inform us about what's really going down in the world. So, a brief background of Ukraine, a country bordering Russia, a former Soviet Union country. They got their independence when the Soviet Union started falling apart, and by 1991, they were an independent country. And then fast forward to 2014, there was a political battle between which direction to take the country, pro-Russia or pro-Europe. And the president was pro-Russia, but the people rose up, mass protests started, and the president was ousted. The government collapsed, and the president went into exile in Russia. Afterward, a little Ukrainian area known as Crimea, well, things started stirring up there. People started showing up in military gear, and Crimea claimed independence and then voted to be part of Russia, and then Russia annexed it and made it, well, they made it Russia. They took part of Ukraine and made it part of Russia. And now we know that Russia was behind the whole thing, even though at the time they said they weren't. Also, in eastern Ukraine, a civil war starts up, and the East wants to separate from Ukraine itself. And the East is backed by Russia, and Ukraine is, well, they're backed by the West, meaning Europe and the US and Canada. And this war has been going on for the better part of 7 to 8 years. All right, now, that's the stage. Let's dig into the meat and potatoes of what it's all about right now that we've been hearing about. So, what have we been hearing in the news at Russia and the West, and in particular the US and NATO, which NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that formed right after World War II to battle Soviet Union influence and make the world all good and good. Yeah, whatever. But NATO still exists today. Even though the Cold War's over and Soviet Union no longer exists, NATO is still a thing. Russia and another one of their neighbors, Belarus, also a former Soviet Union country, well, they've been doing military drills, and Russia has amassed a vast army on its eastern border with Ukraine. Everyone, Ukraine included, is worried Russia is about to invade Ukraine and take it over. The West has started pouring in hundreds of millions of dollars worth of supplies to Ukraine to keep this from happening. Russia, of course, denies that it wants to invade Ukraine and says it's simply conducting military drills on its own sovereign territory within its own country's borders because of Western aggression, and most specifically in the form of NATO possibly expanding and setting up shop right on Russia's doorstep. Okay, now that we got the background, we got the situation on the ground, we got the meat and potatoes, let's see if we could do some connecting the dots with the rest of the world. And the question, why does the world care about Ukraine? And who controls the country? ? In many ways, this is not really as much about Ukraine as much as it's about Russia flexing their muscle and expanding their influence around the world, and straight up contesting Western power and control over the planet. You see, after World War II, and especially after 1989 when the Soviet Union starts to fall apart, Western countries like the US, the UK, France, Germany, etc., the Western democratic capitalist countries had the most influence over the entire globe and really controlled most of the international economy. They created and pretty much controlled and ran things like the World Trade Organization, known as the WTO, the United Nations in many ways, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, the World Bank, and on and on and on. And the West got good at creating international organizations to control the entire planet and to create a system that favored their own development and power. But Western dominance, well, that has been waning these past 20 years. Russia has rebuilt itself into a powerful country since the 1980s and 90s. China has risen to be the world's second largest economy. India is a major economic powerhouse and a nuclear power. Brazil is a major influencer. South Africa is. There are a lot of other major players in the world today that are not Western, they are not democratic, and they are not capitalist. However, almost all of those countries are just expanding their global influence, economically speaking. They're pushing against Western global economic dominance. They are not really pushing against Western military dominance. And enter the conversation, Russia, who is now pushing against Western global military dominance. You see, the West can deal with other countries rising economically so long as they too can capitalize off of that development. However, the Western democracies of the world are far less willing to let go of their military dominance in the world. And Russia has made some major, bold moves over these past 20 years, militarily speaking, be it in Chechnya, in Georgia, Syria, Crimea, Venezuela, Kazakhstan, Belarus, eastern Ukraine. Russia has done all of that with very little pushback from the West. But it seems the West is taking a hard stance right now. Russia has said it is not planning to invade Ukraine. The West thinks otherwise. Russia wants an absolute guarantee that neither Ukraine nor any other former Soviet Union country will ever be allowed to join NATO. The West does not want to make that promise. Military drills are taking place. Military arms are building up on both sides. All sides involved are still talking, but little to no advancement has been made, other than the agreement to keep talking. And that's the situation as of Sunday when we are recording this. Now, we ain't your grandpappy's Fox nor your sister CNN. We Lofi Poli Sci, which means we bring that political science perspective to what's going on in the world today. And we talk about what's going on in the world tomorrow. Political science is about predictions. So let's make some and see just where this story may go moving forward. Frankly, there is a lot of uncertainty and question marks around this situation, and we do not have all the information needed to really make an accurate prediction of the precise plans or actions that either side will take. However, there are some pretty big aggregate level, macro level, big picture kind of things that we can talk about as far as likelihoods of certain events. The first big system level observation that we can talk about is the state of the global economy. It's been slowly getting back to where it was, but it is by no means a post pandemic economy right now. A lot of countries are still suffering economic recession, and the entire global economy, it's shaky at best. But overall, things are getting better. That being said, war disrupts the international economy in a big kind of way. Trade routes are blocked, consumer taste and interest change, markets are closed off, sanctions go up, and specific international companies, well, all around the world, trade embargoes start to go in effect. These kind of things could send the global economy right back down into a deep recession, and all the progress that has been made over the past year could easily disappear, and things could get far worse. So, our observation number one is that the global economy is shaky but doing better, and a war right now would not economically benefit anyone involved. War between Russia and the US, because of this, is unlikely. Regardless of mounting tensions, neither side wants to face a deep global economic recession again. So, because of that, we're moving the idea of war between the West and Russia into the not probable category. Next question. If Russia does invade Ukraine, does that still hold true? I think the short answer is yes, it still does. Because of global economic volatility, as well as past NATO experiences in places like Afghanistan and Iraq, I don't think the West wants to invade another foreign country to protect it from Russia. So even if Russia invades Ukraine, we're moving the idea of war between the West and Russia into the not probable category as well. But next question. If Russia invades Ukraine and the West won't go to war, what's going to happen? And the short answer again right here, Russia will take over Ukraine. The Ukrainian government and military cannot stand up to the military of Russia. They just can't. The most likely Western response would be vast, hard-hitting economic sanctions on Russia and anyone else involved, really, be it Belarus or any other corporations, it doesn't matter. The world would try to economically cripple Russia and anyone who invades Ukraine. The next question. Would it actually work to make Russia back off of Ukraine? And this one's a little bit harder to answer because if Russia would invade Ukraine, full well knowing all of this, that would mean that Russia and President Vladimir Putin have already conducted a cost-benefit analysis of those sanctions versus the gains from taking over Ukraine. And remember, Russia is not a democracy. President Putin does what he wants and silences opposition to his will. And also remember, sanctions first and foremost hurt individuals in a country that are already the most vulnerable of the population, meaning the poor, the elderly, women, children, ethnic minorities, racial minorities. The people who control the government and President Putin himself, they will be just fine. They will not starve. They will not go hungry. They will not have to turn off the heat in the middle of winter. Sanctions don't cripple governments that have enough money to survive. They inflict pain and suffering on the ordinary citizens of those countries. And we have plenty of evidence to support that conclusion. However, the kind of economic sanctions that are being discussed right now by the West are some of the most serious and potentially severe that the world has seen in recent times. And for real, Russia and the Putin regime, if possible, would like to not go through the sanctions process with the rest. Remember, shaky international economy already. Start throwing around sanctions, which really amount to a trade war / economic warfare rather than a military war. And I don't really see Russia being willing, or wanting to for that matter, to go to economic war with the West. And because of that, and everything else that we've already said, I believe the most likely outcome between Russia and the West, at least at this moment in time with the information that we have, is that tensions will continue to mount to a point. War, highly unlikely. An invasion by Russia into Ukraine remains unlikely. And therefore, the most likely future is that these two sides will figure out some diplomatic way to walk away from these mounting tensions. And it's within everyone's own self interest, really. They're the best interests of all the countries involved to diffuse the situation and let global economic recovery continue. But with all of that being said, right about now, you just may be wondering, so what? This is a world away from me. I can't even point to Ukraine on a map. Why should I even care? And the quick answer, I'll always give you first. I cannot, nor will I ever, tell you why you should care about anything. What you care about is your business, and people are different and diverse. Instead, what I'll do, I'll tell you why this story matters to me. This story, in its broadest terms, is about challenging Western dominance over the planet Earth. Point blank. And the comfortability that all of us live in who reside within the West. We enjoy that comfortability at the expense of other countries around the world due to Western dominance. The how and the why that works exactly is for another Connecting the Dots segment. But I'll go ahead and tell you now. The global power dynamics are shifting. And in the not too distant future, the time will come when Western dominance is a thing of the past. Nothing lasts forever. This story is important to me because it represents the changing tides of a post-World War II planet Earth. This story is important to me because it represents the future of us as a species. This story is important to me because I realize that what's going on in the world today affects all of us and what we got going on tomorrow. And that, my friends, is connecting the dots. All right, let's breathe a little bit, huh? Let's chill for a second, eh, people? That was pretty intense for just being episode number 1, huh? So let's go ahead and hit that reset button, cue up some music, and be back in just a second with an unnamed segment with our good friend Gregory Day. Gregory Day of Hipsville AD joining the show today. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, me too, me too. All right, let's lay out how this segment works for the good people at home. How do we do this?
Yeah, man, this is our weekly music exchange. So each week we're swapping some tunes, and then we're going to talk about what we thought of them.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Let's dive right in. Do you want to go first? Or do you want to go second? What's your song?
I'll go first with the choice that you gave to me last week.
All right, well then my pick was of Monsters and Men, a song called Dirty Paws. And what can I say about this song or this band? You know, they're from Iceland, but they sing in English, not in Icelandic. And they simply call to me in a big kind of way. You know, this song, I mean, the lyrics are awesome, but the music and the chorus and the entire band singing together in the chorus, it just grabs me and holds me and it takes me in and it doesn't let me go. And I don't want to be let go. You know, I want it to hold me forever and just live within the music and do Dirty Paws and all of Monsters and Men. You know, this song and this group makes me feel alive and not alone, makes me feel part of something. And you know, I can't say anything else more about it because I just love this song and this group that much. What'd you think about it?
This may be outside of my comfort zone, but I do think this is a really great song you sent me. It's got this beautiful percussive indie vibe to it. That's kind of cheery, kind of sad, which I thought really grabbed me. It was very intriguing. But what really threw me was the lyrics for this song, and I tried to interpret them. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I was kind of really thrown for a loop about what this song was really about. I was thinking maybe it was about the battle of the sexes or maybe even evolution. But did you have a thought on like what this track is about?
So for me, and of Monsters and Men are really kind of like new age indie folk music to me.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to try to put them in a genre at all,
Yeah, yeah.
but this song to me, and I know what you're saying, the lyrics, they're kind of different in a way, talking about the dirty paws. And there's like a lot of it that really, I think, calls to environment and talking about the way we live and about
Mm-hmm.
how the way we interact, but not with just each other, but also with the other creatures in the world. And it also makes me think about how other creatures in the world interact with each other and how sometimes we feel like animals are humans and we interact with them the same way, but other times like we don't humanize certain animals and we distinctly interact with them in a different way. And it really makes me think about how we as human beings interact with the entire world around us and how we really differentiate how we interact with beings depending on if we humanize them or not.
Oh, all right. Very, very insightful there. Yeah. I was maybe taking a little at face value as far as like the birds and the bees and its reference to sex and them fighting each other. And of course, one of them taking up with something that has four paws to help them fight the battle, which I thought was intriguing, um, to say the least.
Right, right. I mean, this is one thing I do love about all music is that you can get so much from it, especially if, like in this particular case, even though of Monsters and Men, they are not an English speaking group, they do speak English in their songs. And
Mm-hmm.
so you are drawn not to just listen to the music, but also listen to the words. And so you have to kind of just like incorporate what does this really mean? And music means so many different things to so many different people, which is also why I really love your choice. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about your choice?
Yeah, yeah. So the song from last week that I gave you was called "Don't Light My Fire" by a Japanese punk band, Otoboke Beaver. To me, this band is one of the most exciting punk bands in the world today. They're just raw and just 100 miles an hour with their energy, and have a very unique look, sort of uniform look, and are just in another way they're like cheerleaders from hell. The way some of the chanting goes in their songs, but yeah, this song particularly, I think is the is a great place to start with him, and I'm so interested to hear what you thought about it.
Oh man, this song was crazy cool. And I'll tell you, this is not the first Japanese punk band I've ever listened to. There's another one from back in the day called High Standards, although a
Mm,
lot of their stuff was in English.
hmm.
But this song, it kind of starts off a little poppy and it reminded me a little bit of K-pop in some ways. And then boom, it went total hardcore 90s punk rock. And it was just like, damn. And in the fashion of true punk rock from back in the day, it's a short listen. It's just 2.5 minutes long. So
Yeah,
it gets
yeah.
in, it gets out, it does what it does, it does what it wants to do. It amped me up. It really woke me up today. It was fun, and then it slows down towards the very end, and you're thinking it's gonna like fade out, but then boom, it ends in a great hardcore big bang punk rock style. I really dug this track, man.
Yeah, yeah. And to me, it's also like a take on the Doors song "Light My Fire," which is like, "Come on, baby, light my fire," asking someone to turn you on. Where this is the opposite, almost like a feminist anthem of like, "Just stay the hell away from me."
Yeah, dude, and I
Yeah.
really dug this. And to compare like the two songs about this, we were talking about, what can you pull from the lyrics of Dirty Paws? It's in English. But what could we pull from the lyrics of this song, which is in Japanese, which neither of us know? And I think
Hmm.
it's such a great contrast when you're talking about music to talk about language. And it's something that you talked about on the first segment, our opening segment that we did for this segment. Well, that's a whole lot of segments in there, but it's staying in. I'm not editing out. All right, segments. But you said vocals and the lyrics and the voice is just one more instrument in the entire arrangement. And I think it's interesting. And I want to ask you, what do you think is like the biggest difference between thinking of voice and lyrics as an instrument of when you have two different groups, one in English, one in Japanese? Like, do you view the lyrics differently because you can understand them?
That's a good question. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think if it's in English and it's in obviously it's the only language that I truly know, um, is you're looking at it like a poem. You're trying to find meaning behind the lyrics. What are they saying? Um, and I think if there's English in other language in other music from other cultures, like this Otoboke Beaver song, and looking at it in a reference, or like, is it a cultural staple that the reason they're using that language? But yeah, I don't really go out of my way. Like I said last time we talked about this, to translate lyrics, because I think it's just what I'm really looking for is the emotion to be translated, or to be communicated to me through that. And I think like this band, or like the last time we talked about in the previous um, segment, was just like the emotion coming through those lyrics, or through the vocal performance, I should say, that really gets me.
Yeah, I dig it. I really like the idea that we had two very contrasting types of music today. You know, one kind of Icelandic folky indie with English lyrics, with another one that was Japanese punk rock hardcore. And dude, I love the contrast of it. I love it. I love it. But on
Oh
that note,
yeah.
my friend, what are we listening to next time? What song do you have?
Oh yeah, I got a great instrumental track for you called Cliff Diver. It's by Sandro Galileo, and it's written by him, and it's performed by Eraserhood Sound. I'll elaborate on why I mentioned both of those people next segment, but right now I'm handing it over to you.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, really, just by chance, then I actually have an instrumental one for you.
Oh,
Yeah, it's called "The Captain's Dance"
okay,
by Marcus Warner.
all right,
For your next listening pleasure. And to all
right
you
on.
lo-fi listeners out there, send in your thoughts as well about music we talked about today and our picks for next time. And maybe we'll go ahead and read your comments out on the show. But listen to our picks for next time so you can know about the music that we're talking about. And realistically, you could have paused this segment when we introduced the songs before we started talking about them. Go and listen to the song and then come back to the podcast. That way you always know the songs that we're talking about. And Gregory Day, until next time, my friend, turn it up and play it loud.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right, Lo-Fi listeners, we'll be back in a second with a bit of Lo-Fi global trivia for you, so stay tuned and chill to the tunes. Yes, indeed. I always love some funky freshness right there, right before we hit that lo-fi global trivia we got going on. Big thanks to Gregory Day of Hipster AD for coming talk music with us. But now, it is time for that lo-fi global trivia. We'll be coming at you with 5 fast-paced global trivia questions. Give you 5 seconds to think for an answer. And we're going to start off with some oldies but goodies just to make sure you repeat listeners remember and you new listeners learn. So let's go. And question number 1. How many islands make up the country of Indonesia? And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Survey says about 17,508 islands. Now you know. Question number 2. How many military coups were there last year in 2021? And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our answer? 5. More on that tomorrow. Question number 3. What's the country with the largest coastline? And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's Canada with 202,080 kilometers. Side question. How many miles is 202,080 kilometers? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 125,567 miles? Now you know. Question number 4. Pancakes or waffles? There is a correct answer. Write in on this one. And question number 5, our last one for the day. What's the newest country in the world? And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's South Sudan, making its debut to the world stage in 2011. Although, side note on this one, lo-fi listeners, one of you out there made mention to me of another possible newer country than South Sudan, and in true lo-fi fashion, I forgot. Help me out, write in if it was you, or if you can think of it on your own. What country is newer than South Sudan in 2011? And that's Lo-Fi Global Trivia for the week. Write in, let us know. How'd you do? Did you get 5 for 5? What are you really liking, pancakes or waffles? I'm curious. And what kind of syrup? Actually, don't tell me what kind of syrup. Just pancakes or waffles. Write in. I'm curious what you thinking. All right, we're going to take a quick break, listen to some tunes. Got to get my hydration on. Always stay hydrated, people. But we got a little Lofi Poli Sci OG original right here. That luscious Luna Lo-Fi. Back in a minute, peeps. Always nice to bring it down a notch with our very own luscious Luna Lo-Fi. Now, in the future episodes, this is the moment that is for you, Lo-Fi listeners out there, for all of your write-ins, your recordings, your words, your voice that everyone wants to hear. And if you don't want to include your name on the show, but you still want to write in and still want to create your own little name, something like at Hello Kitty 2022 or at New York's Knicks fans 1975, whatever you want, go ahead, write in, use whatever you want. Or you can just use your first name or no name, it doesn't matter. Be an anonymous Lo-Fi listener, which is likely the only kind there is because I don't see anyone going out in the world shouting, hey, I'm a Lo-Fi listener. Though it'd be cool if they did. So go ahead and start writing in, people, and next week we'll see what you got to say. But for now, we do have a public service announcement. Seeing as this is episode 1 of season 5, I wanted to take a second to lay out our format moving forward. In this season, we drop episodes every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Sorry to all you listeners out there that love that 5-day-a-week format. That shit was hella a lot of work, and I kinda want to crawl out from behind my microphone this season and live a little. And last week, we officially launched our website, lofipolisci.com. Make sure to check it out, people. It's home base for all of us. Get the links to the latest episodes. Check out our weekly blog posts that go up at the end of every week on Thursday, Friday-ish. Check out Letters of the Lofi Poli Sci, which comes out every month. Check out old issues. See what different people had to say. Listen to some lo-fi study beats. That's all up there. If you're interested in different intros or outros that we've used for the cast throughout the different seasons, all that's up at there. Episode artwork, everything we've ever used, all there. All of our socials, how to connect with us, all there. And there's lots of places on the page with drop-down menus and different places to where you can send us different notes or, whatever you want. And to that end, write in, because we are looking for a name for Monday and Friday's shows. So Tuesday is Tuesday's Top 10, easy enough. Last season, Mondays were called the Monday Morning Edition, and Fridays were called Good News Friday. But I want to do something different, something that we can introduce at the beginning of every show at the cap of the episode. But, write in if you got ideas moving forward. What are we going to call Monday and Friday's show? I'm curious what you got for me. All right, now that we're done with our little public service announcement, it's time for a brand new segment of Lo-Fi Poli Sci, something we've never done before. It's Lo-Fi Storytime with Pickering. Each story time, I'm going to give you a piece of me, a story from my life. And for today, I want to tell you a story about me living under a rock, metaphorically speaking, of course. But not too long ago, I was riding in a car with an individual whose name does not start with a D and end with an ad, which I can safely say because I know they won't be listening. But anyway, sports came up in the conversation, which I, of course, did not initiate because I don't speak sports. It's that simple, all right? I have no clue what goes on in the sporting world, with the small exception of some T20 cricket action every now and again. Now you know. But this individual started talking LSU football and how they apparently got a new head coach of the football team, something or other, whatever, which I replied, in all honesty, wow, I did not hear that. To which they replied, wow, you must really be living under a rock. People, lo-fi listeners, let me tell you, my anxiety and blood pressure shot up, like, immediately. But then I breathed, and I kind of smiled, and I said, me? Are you referring to me living under a rock? Sure, because under my rock, we're talking about things like how Honduras just elected their first female president, or how the Philippines was just hit with a massive typhoon that claimed the lives of hundreds of people. And I was about to go on, but I stopped myself, knowing it wouldn't matter, knowing that all the things I care about in the world, knowing that I need to know what's going on in the world today, knowing that none of that mattered to this person. It's a hard pill to swallow when you realize that people that you care about and that care about you simply don't care about the things that you care about. They just don't find it important. And I'll be real with you, lo-fi listeners, I know a lot of people who don't give two shits about what's going on in the world today. And I'd venture most people actually fit into that category. If I say the words foreign policy in Louisiana, people think I'm talking about California. And you know what I'm talking about. And honestly, I get it, You see, people are different, people are diverse, and people's lives and what they focus on and what they're interested in and their priorities, their concerns, they're all shaped in so many different ways for so many different reasons. And it's that diversity in life that truly makes it all worth living. Because as much as I love talking about what's going on in the world today with people, it's talking with people who don't give two shits about it that makes those conversations with you all the more unique and all the more worth it. At some point during this year, we're going to be talking about some global news story that really hits you, that connects to you, that you care about a lot. And you're going to go off into your life and try to talk to some of your friends or some of your family. And you may very well see for yourself that they really don't care, just not interested. And when that happens, I want you to know it's okay. We're not all supposed to be the same. Our differences make life beautiful. And no matter what news story it is, you can always come talk to me, even if it's football. Because at the end of the day, nay. At the beginning of the day, throughout the day, and every night, I care about what you're thinking and what you got to say. So always bring your news stories to me, because I definitely am going to miss a lot. So, help me out. Tell me what's going on in the world today. So, do I live under a rock? Sure. Why not? But I do love the view. And this is just another lo-fi story time. And we'll be right back with some news to close us out, but chill for a second with another Lofi Poli Sci original, ready for reality. We're back with the last couple pieces of news to send you on your way for the day, and sending us out with some not so heavy headlines. This next one comes out of Pennsylvania, where a truck carrying 100 monkeys got into an accident. 3 monkeys are missing. Help the effort. Find a monkey today. Out of Pleasanton, California, police found a piglet and are asking the public to help locate the piglet's home. Help the effort. Find a piglet's parents. And in Indonesia, conservationists released 40 baby Indonesian sea turtles into the ocean. I love me some sea turtles. Great news here, people. Help the effort. Save the turtles. And in Kenya, at the Samburu National Reserve, twin baby elephants were born. A rarity indeed. Do yourself a favor today and look at some pictures of baby elephants. It'll make you smile. And of course, help the effort. Save the elephants. And that is a brief snapshot of what's going on in the world today. Check out lofipolisci.com, the music, the episodes, the blogs, the letters, the art. Add us on all the socials. Hit us up, people. Always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Talk to you soon, Lo-Fi listeners. Pickering, signing off. A little behind the scenes for all you listeners that stuck around. This may have been episode 1 of season 5, but it wasn't the first episode recorded for season 5. It was actually the third. It was just made to be the first. Now you know.